So thank you all for your hard work. Rocket Racing League is really owned by a company called Rocket Racing Inc. Rocket Racing Inc. has 3 subsidiaries: Rocket Racing League, which is the sports entertainment side of the business that you hear us talking about, you've seen it written about a lot; Rocket Racing Composites Corporation; and Rocket Racing Technology Development. Rocket Racing Technology Development is there to look at different types of IP and technologies that we can use, like the avionics in our planes with the racetrack in the sky. We call it RITS. We also have something called C-bars and G-bars. C-bars is a cockpit-based augmented reality. G-bars is ground-based augmented reality. So that does 2 things. One, in the cockpit, it allows the pilots to be able to see what they're racing through, what's behind them with situational awareness. It allows you to be able to see that as well. So when we launch a video game that you can fly along with, you'll actually be in the cockpit seeing what the pilot sees. The ground-based augmented reality allows you to watch it on TV and see the planes from a panned-out side of view, flying through the racetrack, okay? So that's new technology we're creating. The cockpit-based augmented reality is something that we can take to general aviation. And we're looking at ways to do that so that pilots like myself and others in the room who fly a 4-seat or 6-seat plane, if we get into inclement weather, instead of trying to look at a GPS and watching a little screen, we can actually hit a button and it'll create a racetrack or a highway in the sky that we can fly through and land at the airport that we're going to. So that's about safety, and safety is something that we're going to talk about. That could one day be used for commercial aviation, for the FAA, with all the routing problems they have and different issues they have. They're trying to figure out how to upgrade that system. So that's what technology development is about. Rocket Racing Composites Corporation was formed to look at different types of composite material that we can use to make better and stronger, lighter aircraft. First in rocket racers, but then in general aviation. So looking at volcanic fiber, carbon fiber, Kevlar, nanotube technology, fiberglass, and other kinds of blends. And I'll get to that a little later on, but that's Rocket Racing Composites. And in that is Rocket Racing Land Development. Rocket Racing Composites and manufacturing composites will need a place to put themselves. And we've headquartered ourselves for that in New Mexico. Steve Traver's here from Congressman Pierce's office today from New Mexico. We have 384 acres out there that we've started construction on a couple hangars already, and we're looking at that to build a research and development facility, very similar to IndyCar or NASCAR. If you look at IndyCar, they're all headquartered. 98% of the teams are headquartered in Indianapolis. In NASCAR, they're mostly headquartered in Charlotte. And they bring all that technology transfer to those cities, and they together can share information and create better technology for the race cars. Okay? Which takes me to the first thing I want to talk about. The history of racing. If you look at these timelines, I have a timeline up here of NASCAR, Formula One, kart, and IRL. NASCAR started really in 1948, F1 in 1946, kart in 1909, they had some slowdowns, but it grew over the last 50 or 60 years. All of these leagues grew, and they grew from the ground up. They grew because guys were racing, cars on beaches, or they were racing around dirt tracks or wood tracks, and they grew into mature sports. And that's very important because we've just started our business, and we're looking at a very long-term build of this league, but I believe that we can do this much faster than any other league has done before, because we're using 21st century technology to create a 21st century sport for 21st century people, okay? So my kids don't even know what an analog clock is. They grew up on digital technology. My kids, whether it's World of Warcraft or any game out there, they play it on the computers, they play their Xboxes, Xbox Live, etc. That's really the generation that we grew up in. Guys who are 23 years old now, 25, 30. I think the median age for gaming is 34 or something in the United States. So we're really servicing that audience to a large degree with what we're building. And that's important because If you were going to start a sport today, if I was Bill France at NASCAR, or I was Tony George, and they did this to a degree, I think I would want to own some of the IP or some of the companies that are actually building these race cars that are racing in my sport. So if you look at this is an Indy car, and if you look at these companies, BMW, Ferrari, GM for engine parts and components, Bridgestone, Firestone, Goodyear, Delphi, Futaba, Sun, McLaren, Dallara. These are multi-billion-dollar companies, okay? Multi-billion-dollar companies. Now, Penske did some stuff with Detroit Diesel, and the Holman George family did some stuff with Ford Warner. But nobody ever thought to look at creating the sport and the vehicles that are going into it, the technologies that are going to be raced in it, and owning some or all of those technologies. So that's kind of the flow of this conversation we're going to have with you today. Take that into aerospace or aeronautics. These are all the opportunities and the things that we'll be working on with rocket racing. Electronics and components, avionics, safety, parachute recovery, high G-impact seats, best glide, control systems, airframes, rocket conversions, rapid turnaround systems, just like fast refueling in a pit stop, non-toxic fuels, composites and tooling. These are all things that are being developed in Rocket Racing Composites Corporation, or Rocket Racing Technology Development Corporation. And this is about the business of Rocket Racing, Inc. So I really am trying to teach you guys a little bit today about this. So if I go a little longer than usual for a press conference, just bear with me. These are some other opportunities: virtual tracks, emergency egress, traffic control guidance, telemetry, virtual advertising, virtual product placement, real-time occlusion. Occlusion is when you see a plane, or you will see the plane flying through the racetrack, and it moves with it, okay? It's very difficult to do in any sport today because you have ground, or you have water, you have things, obstacles in the way. But in the air, we can do this because we basically have a blank palette that we can create the racetrack within. These are all different opportunities and ways that we're going to communicate with the fans and with our sponsors, and also create technology that we can pass on to general aviation to make your flights safer and more fun when you're flying your own plane, or flying a commercial plane. So that was our first test flight in November. Yay!